I think it's fair to say that if you have a US passport, you can pretty much go anywhere in the world. Over 180 countries accept the American passport, and you can just come on in. Now, I don't know how you feel about that. It could be right, it could be wrong, depending on your perspective, but this is the reality. Americans have it very easy when it comes to moving abroad. And so the thing that I struggle with the most is when I speak to Americans that live in the US, in whatever city or state they're in, and they talk about how bad it is. They are just complaining about healthcare, about crime, about all of these things, their kids' education, their quality of life. And I pose to them a simple question: why not just leave? And the reactions that I get are all over the place. But most of them are excuses on why they cannot leave. I can't leave because of this or because of that. But the reality is, most people haven't even considered it. And they haven't done the research to really answer that question. Could things be better if you left the US? Hey guys, Zaman
and Christina
from Our Rich Journey. Today we are going to talk about why it may be time for you to leave America. And we're going to talk about some of the challenges that you may be facing when you're considering making this decision. And we're going to talk about the solutions to help you overcome those challenges. So maybe that you can move abroad and live your best life.
Yes, we are now currently living in Portugal. If you've been following our story, we are from California, but we also lived in Japan and we lived in Spain, and now we live in Portugal. And I can say, I feel like we are definitely living our best life. That's why we encourage so many people to consider moving beyond their backyard, consider moving abroad to other countries, and that's what we're going to focus on in this video. So first, let's talk about the history of Americans moving for a better life. So pioneers headed westward to the migration cities during the industrial boom. People have always sought out places that offer them more. So things like wealth, more opportunities, more security. In the past, people have moved from farms to cities, from small towns to bustling metropolitan areas, or from one coast to the other. The idea of moving for a better life is really embedded in our history. But today, so many Americans are looking beyond the borders of the United States. Maybe it's the cost of living, the healthcare system, or some new adventure that they crave. So this is a question to you. How do you decide whether it's time for you to leave? So to me, I think the answer to this is somewhat of a balancing act. You've got to get to the point where you feel like you're fed up with things that you're experiencing in the States. Maybe the cost of healthcare, the cost of living, the violence, the educational system, whatever it is, something has to push you over the edge to decide to move abroad. But it's not just that. There's also barriers to your thinking that may cause you to want to stay even if you don't like the situation in the States. So there's some mental challenges that you have to overcome to get to that point for you to decide that it's time to leave.
I love that you said you reach a point of frustration, because some of the things that can frustrate you can't be addressed by moving over to the next city or to the next state. Things like the healthcare system, the political situation, these large national issues can't be addressed by just moving over one city. You have to make the decision to move completely. But with that said, let's talk about the things that may be keeping you from moving and the solution to those challenges.
So first is the fear of the unknown. So it's really natural to worry about unknowns, things like new culture, new language, new everything. So what if it's worse when you move than what it is right now?
Oh, that fear of the unknown, that will keep you stuck in one place. I mean, fear is a very strong force to keeping you still, from keeping you from doing absolutely nothing. But don't let that fear hold you back. So instead, it's important to shift your perspective. Instead of focusing on what could go wrong, think about what could go right. Think about the new friendships, the unique experiences, or the better quality of life that could be found somewhere else.
So I think a great way to push through the fear is really visiting your potential destinations and researching your potential destinations. I think one of the big things about fear is that you just don't know what's going to happen. So you sit in that anxiety a lot. But by doing research, you can feel more comfortable about the possibilities. And I think that exists in any aspect of life, whether you're moving abroad, whether you're investing, whether you're pursuing financial independence. The more research you can do to figure out possible solutions and a possible way ahead, the less fear and anxiety you can have. So I just want to give a quick note right here. For those of you that are doing research, if you are interested in moving to Portugal, we actually have a Moving to Portugal course. It talks about the process of moving to Portugal, the different visas to stay here longer than the regular tourist visa. We talk about money, banking, education, housing, so much information in that course. If you're interested in learning more, go to ourrichjourney.com, and we'll also leave a link in the description below. Next are financial concerns. So you may be thinking, is it too expensive? What about my savings, my retirement, my investments? All of these things are valid concerns, but can easily be addressed.
The financial concerns are such an interesting point to me because there is so much data out there to truly determine what your cost will be when you move to another country. And what's so important to recognize is that depending on how you live your life, those expenses can vary significantly. I'll give you an example. You could move to a country like Portugal and live here on $1,000 a month. For some people that receive Social Security, for example, they are getting more than $2,000 a month. Now, $2,000 a month in the US does not get you very far, but $2,000 a month in many other countries around the world will have you living very comfortably. And so what you'll find is that when you do your research, you'll see that your money goes a lot further somewhere else. Now, there may be concerns about accessing your retirement accounts or accessing your money. Well, we live in a global economy, and you will have access to your Social Security no matter where you're at in the world. You can access your bank accounts by simply setting up the proper accounts. You see, America is one of the most expensive countries in the world to live in. You'll find that when you start to look to other countries, everything is going to be a lot less. Housing, healthcare, education, the list goes on and on. But something that you cannot put a price tag on is your happiness and well-being. And so if moving abroad means that your happiness and well-being will improve, then that is a great investment within itself. The next concern people have is job security. What if their job won't allow them to work abroad? Or what if they can't find work abroad? I challenge this point because I have met so many people here in Portugal that have managed to relocate with their jobs, get a new job here or a job that allows them to work abroad, or start their own business. In this global economy, you have a lot more choices once you start to do your research.
So if you don't think that finding a job can be done, take a look at us. Like I said, we lived in Spain and Japan, and we lived there for more than 10 years on and off. And when we lived there, we were working in those countries. We were able to find jobs that allowed us to stay there for 10 years. So it is possible. The next concern for you may be healthcare and the educational systems. Now, this is something that I find really interesting because I think people in the States sometimes just tend to think that their healthcare systems or the schools that their kids go to are better than going somewhere abroad just because that's what you're used to. You may still complain about certain things, but you still may think it's the best in the world. Well, take a look at other countries. If you look at the US's healthcare system and you compare it to other countries, you will see how low on the list the US healthcare system is compared to these other countries that provide incredible healthcare systems. And the same can be said for education as well. You know, in the United States, education can be so expensive, especially higher education. If you compare the cost of universities around the world, you'll find that the US has some of the highest costs.
Now, I just want to talk about the schools for a second because our daughters have been going to school abroad for most of their life, and they have had such an amazing experience, an experience that is much more different than what they would have had if they would have stayed in the US. One thing for certain is that we have felt like our kids have been safer at school than if they would have been at the US. There are no metal detectors at the schools. There aren't school issues at the schools that our daughters have gone to. And it's throughout the countries that we have lived in. School safety should be at the top of parents' lists when they're thinking about the education. That peace of mind, knowing that you can send your kids to school and they will be safe and they will get a chance to just be kids, is something that we have cherished since moving abroad.
And lastly, the other concern you may be having is your certain attachment to comfort zones. Now, by comfort zones, they can be so many different things, but I'm talking about family, friends, routine, things that you feel comfortable with in your daily life. So here's the thing, when it comes to routines, you can definitely find your own rhythm and your own routine somewhere else that you move outside of the United States. If you like playing tennis, if you like playing basketball, or if you like to start a book club, if you like a wine club, there are so many different things that you can get involved in abroad as well. And when it comes to family and friends, you have the possibility to first grow your friend circle by meeting new, different people in the new country that you move to, but you also have the opportunity to introduce your new country to your friends and family back home. They will come to visit you. You can always go back to visit. It's just a really incredible opportunity to expand not only your perspective, but the perspective of your family and friends back home as well.
I also think it's an opportunity to expand your comfort zone. Make it a global comfort zone instead of a local comfort zone. I mean, it's so amazing that Christina and I, we feel like we can go to any country in the world and we can just settle in because we are used to being able to adjust to change. Some people that aren't used to adjusting, they struggle when things around them in their comfort zone start to move faster than them. They start to change faster than them. And that can lead to what you thought was a comfort zone in your local place being very, very uncomfortable. And so it's very important that you recognize that this comfort zone can actually be a false sense of comfort. And by moving abroad, you may realize a better quality of life, a new sense of community, and a deeper understanding of how you want to live your best life.
So leaving America isn't for everyone, but it could definitely be the adventure that really changes you. We have loved the adventure. We love being abroad. And that's why we really share this video with all of you, because we want you to consider that. Consider what your life could be like somewhere else. If you get outside of your comfort zone, go move past that fear and really design the life that you want to live. So if you like this video, please make sure to give us a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, and join the journey.